Our guest in studio, someone very familiar to you, Mr. Dennis Rahim Watson. For those of you that don't know, he is the president and CEO of the National Black Youth Leadership Council, based in New York, educated at the Harlem Preparatory School, Fordham University, Pace University, as well as NYU. He's lectured and conducted workshops at more than 200 colleges and universities nationwide, also receiving over 250 awards for his work with black youth nationwide, among 5 of those White House citations. And at least 100 mayors across the United States have declared Dennis Rahim Watson Day in their cities. It's a pleasure to have him here in studio with us. And if that isn't enough, we also want to tell you he's also the chairman of the National Youth and Gang Violence Task Force. Dennis Rahim Watson, right here.
It's a pleasure, my brother.
Pleasure to have you here. Thank you for sharing with us. And as we look, we saw a little bit about Abraham Lincoln. That reflects history.
Yes.
Much of America is now talking about Barack Obama.
Yes.
We're talking about destiny.
Yes.
Talk about that march from history to destiny. Let's fill in the middle piece.
The middle piece is, first of all, we want to give God the praise, the thanks, and the glory for waking us up this morning in our right mind. Because we very well could be in jail. We very well could be in prison. So we want to thank, we have an attitude of gratitude. As a New Yorker, as a Bronxite, as a Harlemite, and as a Bronxite, I want to give a shout out to some of the pioneers like Reverend Dr. Wendell Foster, powerful, one of the first black elected official city councilman, 1973, going strong in his 80s. Give a shout out to Dr. Barbara Ann Tier from the National Black Theater. Want to give a shout out to Percy Sutton, from the Apollo Theater. Give a shout out to Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, brother getting ready for his 90s. Give a shout out to Thurgood Marshall and Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan and Malcolm X and Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman and Muhammad Ali. We have to, as children of the revolution, as children of the civil rights movement, we have to salute our heroes and sheroes. Why? Because Mama said she ain't raising no fools. She said, I brought you in this world, take you out. Money don't grow on trees. Don't get on my last nerve. You must think I was born yesterday. Hard head makes for a soft behind. There you go. Money don't grow on trees. Our mothers gave us more knowledge on their left finger or right finger than most PhDs will get in a lifetime. Because they were serious. They understood that they wanted us to be Denzel types long before Denzel was born. When I look at you on television, we need a generation of Barack Obama types. And when I look at you, I said, go ahead, Barack Obama, because we got brothers out there that represent this generation. Who are we representing? We can't represent ourselves, but we representing the legacy of Earth, Wind, and Fire. The Temptations, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, Isaac Hayes, Barry White, Marvin Gaye.
And so to say the truth, we all have come stepping on somebody else's on somebody else's shoulder.
All that we are.
But isn't it something, though, that when you look at it from this perspective, it seems as though sometimes we forget the shoulders that we stand on, because there's a lot of people up there who've already, quote-unquote, arrived, but when you look at them, they fail to give homage to those people and the shoulders that they step on, and much of it for lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, and sometimes they got all the knowledge and will do nothing. I read somewhere not too long ago this quote, and I want to share with your audience, that you are blessed so that you can be a blessing to others. You are given 2 hands. One hand to keep you rolling, and the other hand to help somebody else up the ladder. We know that. All of us have school teachers. All of us have somebody in our community has been generous and philanthropic and caring. We grew up in a generation of sharing. I grew up in a generation of transistor radio, black and white television, black telephone.
Rabbit ears.
Go ahead now.
Antenna.
Shoot.
Oh yeah, aluminum foil on the antenna.
Go ahead now.
All right, I'm not that far. I'm not that far off. Okay.
Nickel or dime or quarter on the 45 when it was so we grew up. Our generation grew up with nothing. Say nothing.
Nothing.
We grew up with nothing. Say nothing.
Nothing.
But we grew up with everything. This generation has everything, but it has nothing.
Why so? Because I really want to get that.
It gets back to the relay. I'm passing you the baton. We live in a hip-hop generation, and this is the greatest generation we've ever produced. I want to give a shout-out to all of the great hip-hoppers who are doing great stuff, who are out there trying to wake up our people. But because we live in high tech, if you're in a relay and the baton has been passed to me, You're standing up there, and I'm waiting for you to get ready to receive my baton. You got me?
Right.
But you can't accept the baton if your pants are sagging. You can't receive the baton if you got a do-rag on your head. You can't receive the baton if you're twittering. If you can't pass the baton, receive the baton if you're playing a video game, when you ought to be ready to grab this baton and keep rolling. So and that's the difference between our generations, is that our generation was serious. We were serious about affirmative action, equal opportunity, opening up college doors, STEP programs, EOP programs, HEO programs, you know, all of it. We created. So we set the stage for this generation. This generation has a responsibility to pass on what we've given them. Now, we can't wait around for them to do what they're supposed to do. We just got to keep on doing what we have to do, and we have to be vigilant. The most scary thing about young folk that we need, getting back to Barack Obama. Barack Obama would not be president of the United States without Dr. King, as you know, and Shirley Chisholm and others, and Jesse that ran. You know, he wouldn't.
Al Sharpton
and you know, and Thurgood Marshall and the alike. One of the major problems we have, and particularly as males, is that we don't read enough. We got to read. If you come to my home, you see nothing but books. You cannot be a leader until you read. Leaders read. And so, because we don't read, now when I speak at colleges and universities all across the country, I sometimes have to beg students to take notes. My yellow pad is like my American Express.
Don't leave home without it.
I never leave home without it. I am on a search. Two things while I'm on this earth, and when we get back to something you're talking about.
Right.
We operate in the Bronx. Many of us, not all, many of us operate in the Bronx and Harlem and Brooklyn and Queens, Staten Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, wherever we are. We operate as though the life we have is dress rehearsal. You and I know better. The life you and I got is the only life we got. So when you step out, you may have $2 in your pocket right now and a subway card, but you look like a millionaire. Not only that, but by looking at you and getting a sense of your character, I want to pay homage to your mother. I want to bow to her whether she's living or not, because I want to be able to say, look what you produce. So every single day when I wake up in the morning, I give God the praise, the thanks, and the glory. Say, thank you for another day. Well, and then I thank my mother and my father for life.
Let me go back to the mothers and the fathers for a minute, because as we know now, in our community in particular, many people are being raised in single-parent households. Talk about how much of a struggle is that in terms of the furtherance of our young people in having successful careers, having successful families.
Well, first of all, this is not a perfect life, and you know, and we praise, we salute, and we honor those mothers that are raising children by themselves. We praise them because it's a mammoth job. It's an awesome job. We praise them, and when they produce from their loins the great men and women that we'll see in the future, we give them mucho props. But if you look at the major leaders of our time and the leaders of our past, most of them have come from homes where there was only one woman in the house, but they got a message. Barack Obama's mother gave him a message, gave him an attitude. Father wasn't around. Jesse Jackson's father lived somewhere in the block. Minister Farrakhan wasn't surrounded by his father. Malcolm X's father was killed by the Ku Klux Klan. So we got a whole bunch of black men and women who have succeeded whether Papa was around or not. What's the difference? You got to have a purpose in life. And the earlier you discover your purpose, you can make it.
I want to come back.
You got to have a purpose.
I want to come back.
You got to have a purpose.
I want to come back and talk about that purpose.
No success.
We're going to come back and talk a little bit about that purpose in just a second. We got Brother Dennis Rahim Watson in studio with us. Of course, you know he is on fire, and we are going to continue lighting it up in our next segment after we take a quick break. Stay with us. Coming right back right after this.